Along the lines of you mentioned how self-proclaiming this is kind of almost a love letter to The Exorcist in some way. In horror films, typically there's a lot of cliches, there's a lot of traps, and how conscious were you when writing this to stay away from that, and to also stay away from kind of not plagiarizing, but kind of making this look like The Exorcist and still have your own unique voice in it?
Great question. That the funny thing is obviously in a script we had a foundation. So with our interviews with a family, that it's based on two young girls in this family and the mother, and the bottom, like the line of the story we were going with was the mother passing her demons on. Sometimes if a parent doesn't deal with situations or problems in their life, they can pass it on to their children. And in this case, this happened with this family. And it was it's very frightening and a little bit religiously driven. But as we were writing it, and we would take out true elements and add in fictional elements, you find yourself, we would backtrack and say, well, we have to change this, we have to fix this, and it's literally like piecing rewrite after rewrite to make sure this adds up with this scene and this scene adds up. But as for not worrying about, we wanted to get it right. We all felt like the exorcism movies that are out there, they want to reinvent the wheel, which is great sometimes, but sometimes when it's not broke, don't fix it. And when you're a fan, you want to see that same element of somebody go through what Reagan went through, or because it's out there. Yeah. It's not these tricky stories, and we actually had one.
Yeah, I think what's so great about Jason, Heather, they have a huge horror fan knowledge, so they know all the tricks, all the stuff that's been used, and so we're sitting there writing. I'm a big horror fan too. We're just like, have we seen this before? Have we seen it? And so we've seen everything. So we tried to, like you said, we tried to stay away, but we also tried to be honest with kind of like the story that we were telling about this young girl. I think what a lot of horror movies don't do, especially the possession movie, is follow the girl so much. It's a lot of like the people around her. We had that too, the people dealing with it, and Tanya. But I think you really get Ashley's character. You really stay with her. I think that was kind of something we hadn't seen a lot. Kind of that point of view of the person that's going through it.
Where do you think you guys looked at it and said, you know what, I think this is where I'm going to learn my character? Did you guys go from the external part of that, or was it more internal and working your way out? How does your process work in that respect?
I'm a very visual person, so for me, I usually do start sort of externally. Like the first thing I did when I booked this role is I went to Walmart and I just bought a watch. And it was just like a cheap watch because I felt like it was a watch that he would wear. And I ended up wearing it in the film. And I also got a pair of shoes that he would have worn. And for me, that's like sort of how my process works. I like start sort of at the outside, and as I can like see him coming together, it sort of like all starts happening internally as well. But I think when you like talk about getting this script, like when I initially got it, my character, Pastor John, like there's a lot on the paper, but there's so much more. Like I guess there wasn't a ton on the page, whereas like where he comes from, because he's this sort of like new character, a new guy in town, and we know very little about him, and so it was fun to sort of like build in a backstory and sort of give him this like dark past that he's like now seeking redemption, and it was like something very like fun and exciting to get to build.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what kind of character you have, whether the most outstanding aspect about them is their internal aspects or their external. And for this particular situation, Hannah had, a pretty rockin' style, in my opinion. I thought it was pretty cool. And so that's where I started. And, her her style is a reflection of how she's really into angels and demons walking the earth, and so I started with the style, and I went from there. So yeah, I guess I started with externally.
For me, I would definitely say it was more internal, because I was thinking, okay, so, you know, this is a guy who really liked this girl, and then she moved away, and now all of a sudden she's back. So I wanted to make sure that, like, I could try to find that eagerness, but still dial it back from when I was a kid and I chased him around the gym.
As artists, we tend to be our toughest critics in looking at the screen, and obviously you guys seen it a ton more times than the actors did. So you probably even have more things, you know, that you were like, oh man, but you know, at some point you gotta let it go. But tell us, what do you think that you nailed?
I think we like I said. I mean, you know, you always want. I want more. Right. I wish I had more, and we actually trimmed even our first cut down from like 2 hours to like we're at an hour and a half with it. But in a genre film, our goal, what we accomplished for the audience, was giving them an exorcism movie that still will make you jump out of your seat from start to finish, so that therefore you weren't lost in the story, because we live in a different technology. You're on your phone, you need to be grabbed right away, and I think that's what we really searched for in also telling this story, which is a very serious, very scary story, with adding that element of fear and jumps in the movie.
I'm just gonna give Jason a shout out for a second. He's a extremely talented filmmaker. I mean, I'm not just saying that because he's my husband, but his vision, and even I know that Dylan can even piggyback off of this, just his vision of storytelling and the way that he creates. He doesn't just direct, he's also a cinematographer at heart. So he works with the cinematographer, and he's like, if you can't do it, we're not moving on until you can, because he has a way, like, even not just the script and the actors, but the camera tells a story too, and that's how he works, and it's just really cool to sit back and watch him.
I actually was going to piggyback on that. I wanted to say, when we were originally talking about the script, and when we were writing, Jason would get up and be like, "Here's the shot," and he'd run through and he'd act it out. And like first we come here, a lot of the first meetings that we had would be, all right, this is the shot that's really going to blow them away. And he would call me at all hours of the night. He's like, I know it's late, but I just want to talk to you about this. And it's just him and Heather. I know they're probably at home talking about it. And I would get the late call, and I'd be like, please call me anytime, because I want to hear about this. And he had these amazing shots.
3 a.m. The camera's gonna go this way, and we're gonna move this way, and I'm like, honey, you're sleeping. Go back to sleep.
So as artists, we look at ourselves on the big screen. You've all seen it on the big screen now, right? We look at ourselves on the big screen, and we are our toughest critics. We see, oh yeah, I should have done that there. Oh, I should have held that moment a little longer, or you know, I wish I had given a little bit more here. But I want to know from each of you, what do you think you actually nailed?
I'll say, like, I think I'm definitely a worse critic on set than I am, like, typically when I get into, like, the actual watching it or the screening. Like, I always find on set, I just go in my head about, like, maybe I don't know, because I think we have a human tendency to want to control the situation. And then as artists, like, we need to be doing the opposite. It's about being free and just open and fluid and allowing yourself to sort of, like, roll with the punches. And so I think I get more heady on set, and then I end up watching it and going, wow, that actually worked. I'm like actually pretty proud of that performance. So like, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm like a little bit opposite than a lot of other actors. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with what he's saying. I try not to do that, though. I try not to get on set and be like, oh my God, this is just, oh no, I can't, I'm in my head. I try to be in the moment as much as possible, and then what ends up happening is afterwards I'm like, oh no, that scene, I'm terrified. And so I build it up and it builds up, and then, you know, once I finally watch the film, I'm really, really nervous, and then I see that everything more or less works out, and I'm like, okay, everything was fine. It's okay. There's no worries.
Yeah, usually like, on set, I'm not like all up in my head, but as soon as I walk off set, I run every single scenario through my head, and I'm like, oh no, I should have done this and that. And as we were waiting for the movie to come out, I just remember myself like walking into the theater. I was like, oh no, what did I do? How did I do this or that? And then like finally like seeing it like on the big screen, seeing it run through, I'm like, oh, that was good. Okay, so I guess I didn't do what I thought I did. And so yeah, I definitely get like in my head in between it. Like I guess like right after I leave set up until I see it or like see part of the product, because it freaks me out. Like I'm not sure what exactly I did.
Are any of you not people who like to watch their own work? Yeah.
That would be.
Yeah, I was sitting next to Austin last night, and it's great. And every time he come on, I just watch him go. Oh. But it wasn't just during his scenes. I mean, anytime something scary came on, it was like watching a scary movie with my 4-year-old. I would just watch, and his dad was sitting on the other side of me, and we were like both smiling at each other, and Austin's watching the movie like this.
Like half the movie, I had like my thumbs in my ears, my hands like this, because I'm just scary movies, jump scares. I figured, if I filmed one, all right, like I'll be able to watch them. No, that was not the case.
So, what do you guys love about indie film? Why do you guys love to do indie film?
I love it just like because it's just typically it's a more creative process, and you're working with filmmakers who are so passionate about what they're doing, and they're really going all in because there's so much more at stake, and there's just so much passion, and typically like you come out of it getting to like build such incredible relationships, and you really bond over like everyone coming together to really make the best possible product. Whereas like so a lot of times when you're on bigger sets, it starts to feel a little bit more like a job, and everybody else has really just got their role. It's like you do your part and you shut up, like for everything else. But in India, it's like everybody's like we're all pulling for it, and we're all like in it together and in the thick of it. And so you just come out like with some of the most like beautiful relationships and bonds. And like I don't know, it's really a creative It's a great experience.
Yeah, it's definitely like, obviously, you love to get the bigger, like, corporate jobs, but an independent film is more like freelance work, something that's your own, and, it really feels like everybody's a team, and you get so much, more gratification once you see the finished product afterwards.
So, along those lines, that it is a true story and staying true to a true story, but actors have their process as well, and they bring in, and you bring them in, and you bring them in for a reason. And then they start to develop the characters for you, and you see them do something. Did any of them surprise you and change something that you were happily okay with them change?
The church scene and the demonic scene, Bruce did this whole monologue in a movie. Bruce Davison, incredible actor. It was just
Everybody would know who he is when you saw him.
Yeah, exactly. He's X-Men. He's done tons of stuff, but he did a horror movie a few years ago where he had to memorize this prayer in another language, and they cut it out. They never used it. So he's like, "Can I use this? Can I use it in this scene?" And it was perfect. So that was kind of like an improv on his part.
What do you guys love about being indie filmmakers?
Yeah, first of all, the passion for filmmaking, and then having no one to turn to but yourself, or in my case, my husband. But just the collaborating of working together with minds and not having to like ask a big production, is this okay? Can we do this? Yes, it can be difficult, an indie film on a smaller budget, but like Jason always says, if everyone could do it, everyone would. And so we always said that on the set. And one of our favorite things is, as a producer, I would say, there's never a problem, there's only a solution. You learned to say that. And we also would walk around saying we are shooting we're having a caviar dinner on a McDonald's budget.
I just want to say, I've been very lucky myself to have worked on a ton of different productions, different levels. The first show I worked on was HBO's The Wire. I did like $100 million movies, and I've done a lot of indie movies too. And I just want to, like, this is one of those ones where you just feel like you're going to have friends for life. This is definitely family. Jason and Heather, just working with them. We met on a set, and from there we just started talking, and we had the same kind of passion, and just they really brought me in and made me feel like really at home. And I think all the actors can attest to that too. Just what wonderful people they are. And indie filmmaking, you kind of, like I heard you guys say earlier, like sometimes we work such long hours it can feel like a job, but this is really felt like working with family.
For the independent filmmakers, because a lot of times that's kind of what we all are, is artists and have a passion, or anybody can say, man, I'd really like to get my idea on screen or on paper and then on screen. And the main thing that I could say is these visions and artistic views come at you in the oddest hours of the day and night, and you should have your notepad or phone close by or whatever you're going to write on, so you can jot these things down, because that's something in your brain kind of giving you that message to get ready. And that's what I tell those filmmakers that want to do it, and just do it. Don't stop.
We really found that teamwork is really important, especially in indie filmmaking. So I think for those trying to do indie films, finding the people that you work best with really, really helps. And we were lucky that we found a lot of people that were really on the same page. And it's finding those people that have the same passion, that really want to do it, because we have long hours. That's one thing for indie filmmakers. If you haven't shot a lot yet, this is a hard business with long, long hours. So finding those people that you love to work with and that you could disagree with, but at the end of the day, you're going to find the best solution for the movie together, I think is really important.